It was disgraceful. That was what Paul Finebaum had to say about Alabama's performance. Uh, if you want to call it a performance, not a good one against Georgia, a 28-7 landslide victory for the Dogs. I'm not going to call it a blowout. I think it was a pretty solid win for Georgia. Not as solid as grabbing a free bird on a Monday, popping the top, and making sure you're hydrating yourself. Look, I think Alabama is just not the better team. Got completely destroyed by Georgia on the line of scrimmage. It's very problematic for the Tide as they move forward to play Oklahoma. What does it mean for Georgia that we're talking about their total destruction and a, quote, disgraceful performance from Alabama? And really, how much of that performance was based on what Georgia was doing? Freebird Southern Spring Water from the Blue Ridge Mountains, where I'll be spending Christmas, not too far from where Gunnar Stockton grew up and played in Rabun County. Gunnar had a very good performance. It was not a superb performance for him against the Tide. I think, this is a great opportunity for Georgia coming into the playoff time and with everything that they can do leading up to this thing. Look, I think that what we saw Saturday is, to me, a clear separation of four teams from everyone else. Texas Tech, Georgia, Indiana, and Ohio State definitely look like the top four teams. I think after that, you can make a case for Oregon. I think you can make the case for Ole Miss. I think after that, it gets a little jumpier. Texas A&M has not played well for a bit of time at this stage. Alabama has not played well for a while. Oklahoma doesn't currently have an offense, so there's that. There's a lot of things that I think Saturday taught us. I think Texas Tech on the line of scrimmage is going to give a lot of people trouble. The teams that I'm mentioning the most, though, Georgia can only play one of them before Miami, so they can't play Oregon and Texas Tech and Indiana. I mean, can't play all those teams, and it's possible that Georgia doesn't get to the semifinals. It's possible that that Ohio State doesn't get to the semifinals. We'll see. We don't. You can't know what is in store for these teams. I mean, you could have Georgia have a really subpar game against presumably Mississippi. I mean, that would be a horrific loss. Should the Rebels lose that game? I don't see that happening, even with all the tumult coming into that game. I think it's an opportunity for Georgia to go out there and win a national championship that. In a season where they're not clearly the best team. I think this is the last thing in Kirby's orbit. I mean, there are a few things that are still out there for him. Chasing down and perhaps passing Urban Meyer on the national championship list is one thing. I think passing a few more coaches on the Southeastern Conference all-time championships list. All of those championships are not created equally, for the record. Vince, Bear Bryant, they were not playing in championship games. Many of those guys from the past were tying for Southeastern Conference championships when we were playing 6 games in a season. Kirby and them just played 9. So I think that, but more than all of that is that this Georgia team is not a generational team like the 21 and 22 teams. Those two teams were exceptional with I would argue, once in a generation quarterback and probably once in a lifetime defense. That's not what this team is. They're really good, but no one's going to put this team down as one of the best teams in the history of college football. Both of those teams, you could make the argument that the 22 team is the best team in college football history. You could make the argument the 21 team was too. I think the difference in terms of a program, that probably is the best program at the time. You talk about, would go up against, Kirby and Nick when they were at Alabama in 9 through 12 or 11 through 13, whatever you want to call it. And then they lost 3 games or 2 games during that time, not much. The Oklahoma time with Wilkinson, you've got the Miami at the turn of the century, Nebraska of the mid 90s. There have been some really good programs. The Clemson of the 20 teens, they'd have to be considered as well, I would imagine. I don't know how far they would go. But all of those teams, in terms of programs, that would be a very curious conversation. But that back-to-back, those 3-year period of losing 2 games, it's astonishing that the 23 team did not play for the national championship. And this team, although not even close to that team, Brock Bowers, Lab McConkey, Carson, this team is not that team. Those guys are gone. Some of the coaches are gone. But this team, to me, with Kirby and Mike and so forth, this team has the ability to sort of erase that memory away to some degree. I mean, I wrote about this on Dawg Post. It's going to go out on Monday night. That Georgia team lost by 3 points and was not allowed to play in the college football playoff. Alabama just lost by 3 touchdowns in the same exact game, different circumstances, same exact game, and got to play for it. Lost, but got to play for it. Here's our Keely Ringo limited edition signed shot. Dylan Weber shot that. That's a very rare thing you can get someone for Christmas. I've already sent one out so far this holiday season. And, of course, the Dawg Struction that was signed by Keely over at Red Zone in Athens. I've got some of both of these remaining. I might be able to do this next Christmas. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But check that out. And you see the QR codes on the screen. I think the big thing about, what Paul's talking about, how it was disgraceful. Yeah, that's a harsh word. I think the performance was pretty rough, though. I mean, I try not to go hardcore with some of these with the way that I talk sometimes, but Alabama's not played well in a while, and that doesn't just change because the venue has changed and you're in Atlanta and you never lose to Georgia there and all that. Well, you did now. I mean, it's we overdo a lot of different stuff in this industry, and the notion that a team, just because they've always won, is going to continue to win. I mean, I would not think that way with Tech and Georgia, or Georgia and Florida. I mean, it doesn't work like that. That's not what this is. And Alabama earlier this season had the best performance on third down of any probably big four, power four game, or ranked game. Okay. Where they just didn't fail on third down. They couldn't do anything against Georgia because, and I wrote about this on Leggy Sauce. Look, you could not. Georgia was in white, right? Georgia's in their. This was the setup, and so when you do what I do, and you're a photographer, and there I am right there. There's the lens I use. You can't see it. Well, you can see it pretty well. When you have that 500 millimeter, you can focus in on waist to helmet, and you can see, and almost always, not always, you're going to get clean shots of quarterbacks. It focuses in very tight. I very rarely got clean shots of Ty Simpson because there was white flashing the whole time. Every single play, 70% of the plays, there was somebody in white flashing right in front of him, pressuring him, making him run, sacking him, whatever you want to call it. The guy constantly has someone in his way. It is hard to play sports when you're, throwing on air is one thing. Shooting on air is one thing. When you've got somebody in your face all the time, at your feet all the time, it becomes very difficult to compete and to fight like that. Use the term compete. This is the hard part, is when people are flying at you. And Ty Simpson had that the whole night. Disgraceful is not showing up in any way, and it's for someone else to say whether that was the case with Alabama. It was a horrible performance. I will say that. I do not understand why Kalen DeBoer did what he did on that fourth down at the Georgia 12 or wherever it was. That made no sense to me. It was a total panic move. I think moving forward here now, Georgia and Alabama is not going to have the same dynamic. If you now said, okay, they got to play in 5 days, Georgia folks wouldn't have a single problem with that. The game wasn't as lopsided maybe as it seemed like. Georgia's offense was good. It wasn't great. So I don't know how bad it really was, but it was a knockout win for the Dawgs. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.